It is better to offer no excuse than a bad one. It is better to be alone than in bad company. If freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep to the slaughter. My mother was the most beautiful woman I ever saw. All I am I owe to my mother. I attribute my success in life to the moral, intellectual and physical education I received from her. Human happiness and moral duty are inseparably connected. 99% of failures come from people who make excuses. I hope I shall possess firmness and virtue enough to maintain what I consider the most enviable of all titles, the character of an honest man. There is nothing which can better deserve our patronage than the promotion of science and literature. Knowledge is in every country the surest basis of public happiness. Guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism. Labor to keep alive in your breast that little spark of celestial fire called conscience. Perseverance and spirit have done wonders in all ages. Associate yourself with men of good quality, if you esteem your own reputation, for 'tis better to be alone than in bad company. A sensible woman can never be happy with a fool. Let us therefore animate and encourage each other, and show the whole world that a freeman, contending for liberty on his own ground, is superior to any slavish mercenary on earth. Happiness depends more upon the internal frame of a person's own mind, than on the externals in the world. Few men have virtue to withstand the highest bitter. The harder the conflict, the greater the triumph. Experience teaches us that it is much easier to prevent an enemy from posting themselves than it is to dislodge them after they have got possession. Worry is the interest paid by those who borrow trouble. The turning points of lives are not the great moments. The real crises are often concealed in occurrences so trivial in appearance that they pass unobserved. As mankind becomes more liberal, they will be more apt to allow that all those who conduct themselves as worthy members of the community are equally entitled to the protections of civil government. I hope ever to see America among the foremost nations of justice and liberality. If we desire to avoid insult, we must be able to repel it. If we desire to secure peace, one of the most powerful instruments of our rising prosperity, it must be known that we are at all times ready for war. To encourage literature and the arts is a duty which every good citizen owes to his country. I conceive a knowledge of books as the basis upon which other knowledge is to be built. Paper money has had the effect in your state that it will ever have, to ruin commerce, oppress the honest, and open the door to every species of fraud and injustice. Where are our men of abilities? Why do they not come forth to save their country? Real men despise battle, but will never run from it. We must consult our means rather than our wishes. Be courteous to all, but intimate with few, and let those be well tried before you give them your confidence. To persevere in one's duty, and be silent is the best answer to calumny. Citizens by birth or choice of a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you, in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism, more than any appellation derived from local discriminations. Let your heart feel for the afflictions and distress of everyone. Discipline is the soul of an army. It makes small numbers formidable, procures success to the weak, and esteem to all. We should not look back unless it is to derive useful lessons from past errors, and for the purpose of profiting by dearly bought experience. There is nothing so likely to produce peace as to be well prepared to meet the enemy. Be not glad at the misfortune of another, though he may be your enemy. Promote, then, as an object of primary importance, institutions for the general diffusion of knowledge. In proportion as the structure of a government gives force to public opinion, it is essential that public opinion should be enlightened. No punishment, in my opinion, is too great, for the man who can build his greatness upon his country's ruin. The great rule of conduct for us, in regard to foreign nations, is, in extending our commercial relations, to have with them as little political connection as possible. I hold the maxim no less applicable to public than to private affairs, that honesty is always the best policy. If to please the people, we offer what we ourselves disapprove, how can we afterwards defend our work? Let us raise a standard to which the wise and honest can repair. The rest is in the hands of God. Overgrown military establishments, which, under any form of government, are inauspicious to liberty, and which are to be regarded as particularly hostile to republican liberty. Nothing is more essential than that permanent, inveterate antipathies against particular nations, and passionate attachments for others, should be excluded, and that, in place of them, just and amicable feelings towards all should be cultivated. It is substantially true that virtue or morality is a necessary spring of popular government. The rule, indeed, extends with more or less force to every species of free government. Death, the abyss from where no traveler is permitted to return. Gentlemen, you will permit me to put on my spectacles, for I have grown not only gray, but almost blind in the service of my country. It is absolutely necessary for me to have persons that can think for me, as well as execute orders. Strive not with your superiors in argument, but always submit your judgment to others with modesty. A bad war is fought with a good mind. Decision-making, like coffee, needs a cooling process. I'll die on my feet before I'll live on my knees. 99% of failures are the ones who make excuses. Individuals entering into society must give up a share of liberty to preserve the rest. A slender acquaintance with the world must convince every man that actions, not words, are the true criterion of the attachment of friends. The basis of our political systems is the right of the people to make and to alter their constitutions of government. One of the expedients of party to acquire influence, within particular districts, is to misrepresent the opinions and aims of other districts. Unhappy it is, though, to reflect that a brother's sword has been sheathed in a brother's breast and that the once happy plains of America are either to be drenched with blood or inhabited by slaves. Sad alternative. But can a virtuous man hesitate in his choice? It is far better to be alone, than to be in bad company. Some day, following the example of the United States of America, there will be a United States of Europe. We began a contest for liberty ill-provided with the means for the war, relying on our patriotism to supply the deficiency. We expected to encounter many wants and distrust. We must bear the present evils in fortitude. Liberty, when it begins to take root, is a plant of rapid growth. Arbitrary power is most easily established on the ruins of liberty abused to licentiousness. They came with the Bible and their religion stole our land, crushed our spirit, and now tell us we should be thankful to the Lord for being saved. Chief Pontiac, American Indian Chieftain. Wherein you reprove another be unblameable yourself, for example is more prevalent than precepts. No pecuniary consideration is more urgent than the regular redemption and discharge of the public debt, on none can delay be more injurious, or an economy of time more valuable. Let your conversation be without malice or envy, for it is a sign of a tractable and commendable nature, and in all cases a passion admit reason to govern. Be courteous to all, but intimate with few, and let those few be well tried before you give them your confidence. George Washington famously warned against ungenerously throwing upon posterity the burden which we ourselves ought to bear. All national institutions of churches, whether Jewish, Christian, or Turkish, appear to me no other than human inventions, set up to terrify and enslave mankind, and monopolize power and profit. Thomas Paine. A man ought not to value himself of his achievements or rare qualities of wit, much less of his riches, virtue or kindred. Interwoven as is the love of liberty with every ligament of your hearts, no recommendation of mine is necessary to fortify or confirm the attachment. To be prepared for war is one of the most effective means of preserving peace. Every day the increasing weight of years admonishes me more and more, that the shade of retirement is as necessary to me as it will be welcome. If the cause is advanced, indifferent is it to me where or in what quarter it happens. The reflection upon my situation and that of this army produces many an uneasy hour when all around me are wrapped in sleep. Few people know the predicament we are in. Harmony, liberal intercourse with all nations, are recommended by policy, humanity, and interest. In no instance have the churches been guardians of the liberties of the people. James Madison, U.S. President. If Christ were here now, there is one thing he would not be: a Christian. Samuel Clemens Mark Twain, American author and humorist. It's good to live alone than to live in a bad company. The great mass of our citizens require only to understand matters rightly, to form right decisions. I had rather be on my farm than be emperor of the world. It is far better to be alone than to be in bad company. Do not suffer your good nature to say yes when you ought to say no. Remember that it is a public, not a private cause, that is to be injured or benefited by your choice. Associate yourself with men of good quality if you esteem your own reputation, for it is better to be alone than in bad company. I was born a heretic. I distrust those people who know so well what God wants them to do, because I notice it always coincides with their own desires. Susan B. Anthony, U.S. reformer and suffragist. Religious controversies are always productive of more acrimony and irreconcilable hatreds than those which spring from any other cause. George Washington, Revolutionary War general and U.S. President. Whatever may be conceded to the influence of refined education on minds of peculiar structure, reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principle. Being said at meat, scratch not, neither spit, cough, or blow your nose except there's a necessity for it. Much was to be done by prudence, much by conciliation, much by firmness. Speak not evil of the absent, for it is unjust. Every man thinks God is on his side. The rich and powerful know he is. Jean Anouilh, French dramatist and playwright. The government of the United States is not, in any sense, founded on the Christian religion. John Adams, U.S. President. Faith, as well-intentioned as it may be, must be built on facts, not fiction. Faith in fiction is a damnable false hope. Thomas Edison, American inventor. Creationists make it sound like a theory is something you dreamt up after being drunk all night. Isaac Asimov, Russian-born American author. A man is accepted into a church for what he believes, and he is turned out for what he knows. Samuel Clemens Mark Twain, American author and humorist. Reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principles. I can truly say I had rather be a Mount Vernon than to be attended at the seat of government by the officers of state and the representatives of every power in Europe. It is a much easier and less distressing thing to draw remonstrances in a comfortable room by a good fireside than to occupy a cold, bleak hill and sleep under frost and snow without clothes or blankets. Experience has taught us that men will not adopt and carry into execution measures best calculated for their own good, without the intervention of a coercive power. Government is not reason, it is not eloquence. It is force. And force, like fire, is a dangerous servant and a fearful master.